Welcome to another episode of What's on Your Mind. I'm your host, Made, or That African Butterfly. Now, I know it's been a little while since we have been together. Life has been lifing, but we pulled through. We'll talk about it a little bit more, and it's actually part of what's triggered this episode, what's been going on. So we'll get into all of that. But first, I want to introduce my guest. I have the lovely LaToya Brat Richards with me. Hi, LaToya.
How you doing? How you doing, Queen? Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Do you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Wow. Where do I start? Well, my name is LaToya Clark. I am the founder and CEO of the Fashion Steppers, which is a nonprofit organization out of Wilmington, Delaware, which is my platform, which is to build up the youth of today for a better tomorrow, as well as I'm a fashion designer, a motivational coach, a fitness coach. I'm like, whatever you need me to be. I have a whole lot of things. God has blessed me with a whole lot of gifts and talents to share with everybody in the world.
Most definitely. And I love that you share that. We got connected because we both volunteer at the Academy for Peace here in Wilmington. They host different events throughout the year, throughout the month that are peace related. And basically, they just do great things for the community. And your group, the Fashion Steppers, does a lot with them. How did you start Fashion Steppers?
Well, the Fashion Steppers, I started Fashion Steppers with just a couple of my daughter's friends because I came from when I was younger, I was always in a group, like a drill team, a drum line, and a dance team. And when I'm originally from the Camden, New Jersey. So then when I came to Delaware, I've noticed that it was, not so much so popular. So a lot of her friends and stuff, I would say different games and stuff like that. They didn't know about that. So I was like, what can I do to bring the youth together and help them bond and help them get out their shell? So then I was like, oh, dancing. They like drumming, they like stepping. So I said, why not use something that they like to basically trick them to learning life skills like foundation and structure. And you can teach a lot of things through drill team and dance because it teaches discipline. It teaches, how to grow from different things, how to plant seed and how to get out your own way to be your authentic self. So that's how I started off with a couple of my daughter's friends and then they would gravitate to it. So then I just kept on doing it. I just was doing it for fun. Then I was like, let me make this a whole program that anybody can join. So it's a free program. I'm a nonprofit organization with a 501c3. So this program is free for all youth. I didn't want money or the parents' lifestyle to be a reason for a child or anybody or youth to not be able to participate in what goes on. So I just created it and I was like, and I kept on going with it. So basically, we don't just focus on one thing. We focus on anything that a youth is interested in to help them grow and develop. We kind of like plant seeds so they can grow and blossom.
I love that. And I know that you do the fashion stepping, like the dance part. Do you do the drum line as well? Like, do you teach them the drum parts
Yes,
also?
I do teach. I teach them the drum line as well. So I also have instructors that help me along the way. But I do teach the drumming. I do teach the dancing. I do teach the stepping. But I also have other people that can help me because it's better. It takes a village to raise a child.
That
It
it sure does.
takes together we rise, divided we fall. So you get help, even though you know how to do it. It's better to have somebody else to help you. The stronger the foundation, the more mountains you can move.
Mm. So
Yes.
well said. And I love that you mentioned like using dance as a form of teaching them other skills. I am huge on being distracted from the things I have to do with things I want to do. Like if the more fun it is, the more
Yes.
likely I am to do it. One of the ways that we connect is that I just started doing your dance fitness class
Yes.
with the Academy on Wednesday nights, but it's so much fun.
Yes.
Moving and getting an exercise. We all know it's important. Many of us slack on it more than others. For me, though, when I need to like sort of get back in the routine, if you're like, oh, you got to go for a walk, you got to do all the, like the other things, I'm like, ugh.
Yes.
If you're like, oh, you got to dance, you got to box, I'm like, yes. Anything that can distract me from what I actually am
Yes.
doing, that's
Absolutely.
fun. I love it.
Yes, indeed.
How did you decide to start doing dance fitness?
Well, dance fitness, I'm always looking for opportunities to pour into other people. So whatever makes somebody smile, it I'm gonna say it drives me, it gives me passion. So I know all different ways. There are different ways to connect with different people. So I was like, well, exercising is a way to connect with people because I was just working out myself, and then somebody was like, oh, do you train? I was like, oh, you want me to train? What it is, you know? So then I just start to go into it. To me, it's like whatever it takes for me to help you see what's inside of you. That's what I pull out. So that's why I
Mm,
say I'm like a salad. So whatever you need, I am. That's what I
yeah.
call myself a seed. They be like, "What are you?" What am I? I'm a seed. I plant,
Mhm.
you know, and I am you. And then for me to say I am you, that means I am what you are lacking to see your true authentic self. Whatever helps you blossom,
Yes.
because it
Yeah.
only takes one thing to light the fire
Mm,
inside somebody, and then everything else around it will continue to ignite, because now they see the fire that's within them, that's always been in them. It's just a lot of stuff that blockades it, but it takes one thing that they're interested in. Everybody's interested in something different. It can be something small as fitness. You know, when I say small as fitness, because people like fitness mean, just because you're not a fitness junkie doesn't mean you're not in shape. Sometimes fitness doesn't mean that you have to be in the gym all the time. It's just moving around. And when you create movement, everything moves. Your thoughts, you stop being stagnant, because stagnant causes like dimness. That's what I'm gonna say. You know,
mm,
in the night it's still, it's dark.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, in the light everything's moving, so you constantly looking around and constantly moving. So that's how I started fitness. And somebody was like, "You gonna start? You go? Why don't you do fitness? Are
Mhm.
you physically fit?" I'm like, "Oh, come on, let's go. We both got to work on some stuff."
Yeah.
It,
I
it
mean, you
doesn't
are.
matter. Healthy, like to me, people are like, "Well, I'm not in shape," but it's not about that. Are you healthy? That's all that matters, really. Where's are you healthy? Everybody has all different shapes and all different shapes, sizes, and of various levels of to themselves. But are you healthy? That's all it means. And
Mm,
what your fitness is not my fitness. But together we can grow together and teach each other. Because I learned about through fitness. I'm always looking for to be a reason why somebody smiles.
yes. I love that. Charles said health is wealth, which is so true. And
Yeah.
I got to tell you, you are preaching my language about the seed. I constantly tell people, like, if they have a thought, a feeling, a motivation, or whatever, like, say it, because you never know where you are in some people's journey. I think
Yes.
everybody always wants to be that part of that aha moment. And
Hmm.
those moments are wonderful, that spark you talked about. But for most people, that seed needs to be planted
Yes.
first, and then it needs to
Absolutely.
be watered, and then it sparks and grows. And you never know what stage of someone's journey you're a part of. They may seem
Exactly.
dismissive to what you're saying at
Exactly.
first, but that's just because you planted the seed that
Yes,
will come
indeed.
in later.
Yes.
So I love that you contribute towards that.
Yes, indeed.
When we talk about health, so I mentioned earlier that life has been lifing. So let me
Yes.
give you all a little bit of an update on what's been going on with me. So I've been sick since like the end of July. I have asthma, and so like about once a year, I get like it flares up and I just can't breathe for whatever reason. It's happened enough times that I'm just kind of like, oh, this is the week I can't breathe this year. All right. So like I suffer through and then I move on. But so it happened this year, but then it just kept going on. Like I just could not breathe. And it was so hard for me to do like every little thing.
Yes.
Like I'm talking, I'd move from like my bathroom to my bedroom and be
Mhm.
out of breath. And I'm
Oh
like, this
man.
is wild. And then it was getting to the point where like I couldn't sleep because I would try to sleep and I'd wake up feeling like I was choking.
You're right.
And that was awful because then once you're not sleeping, your brain really starts like shutting down. So like I can't do work because during the day I'm so tired. The minute I sit down to try to do work, I start to fall asleep, but I can't sleep. So then I was miserable for
Yes.
probably like 6 weeks. And what finally got me to go to the doctor, I was describing it to my sister, and she's like, well, sometimes like there's fluid in lungs and stuff. I was like, well, it's really weird because I feel like I'm taking in air. Like sometimes with my asthma, I feel like I can't breathe,
Hmm.
but I'm like, it doesn't feel like that. Like it feels like I'm taking in air, but I'm not getting air. And I
Okay.
described that to her and the choking to her, and she's like, it sounds like you have fluid building outside of your lungs, like around your lungs and heart. Like, get to the ER. So I was
Yes.
like, on it. And so I went to the ER, and that's exactly what was happening. I had
Hmm.
fluid around my heart and lungs, and that's why I wasn't able to breathe, and that's why I wasn't able to like move or do anything. On one level, I'm proud of myself for still doing stuff
Hmm.
while feeling that miserable. But on the other hand, I'm like, girl, why did you let yourself get that bad? And
Right.
how did you, you know, especially now that I'm back to like just being able to move and it's not like a big deal.
Yes.
I'm almost surprised that I let it get that bad. But um, so they ran a bunch of tests and it turns out that it's because of like the pressure and just some other things going on, it's called acute congenitive heart failure, which sounds terrible because no one wants to hear the word heart failure, especially in like your late 30s. But it's acute, which is the word I'm focusing on so I don't spiral about
Yes.
it.
Yes.
It's acute, which means that I can make the changes and do all the things and be okay. You
Yes.
know,
Indeed.
luckily I had started making some changes before. Like I'd
Yes.
already made this my year of making changes. So I've already had lost some weight and I'd already made some changes, which is
Awesome.
thank you. Which is part of though why when I got sick it was frustrating for me because I was like, things are finally getting better, and then all of a sudden they stopped getting better. Um, but knowing that like, you know, if I just keep going and keep making those changes, that it will get better and I'll feel better. That brings me a lot of hope. And for me it's good as well too because it's making me have to like really focus. Because let's be honest, motivation is hard. We all have those moments where like, I'm gonna change my life Monday, like, you know, and then you're good for like 2 days and then you stop, right?
Right. Right.
But sometimes it can be hard to like keep going. It's unfortunate that now it's like keep going or heart failure,
Mm.
but it also makes you force you to keep going.
Yes.
Like even yesterday we had our class, and part of me wanted to be like, I don't have to go to dance fit today. Like I can take the day off, and I was like, no, actually, you can't take the day off. So you better text her and you better go to class,
Exactly. I'm coming. I'm coming. Excuse me.
right?
Excuse me.
How how do you you know, so like that's just an update on my journey. And so part of what I've done is put some things in place that I know will help me with my fitness and make me be committed to it, and
Mhm.
also make me not shy away from it, because part of it is like I used to be like that girl that was like out and about all the time, all over the place, doing all the different things. I even as far as like health and fitness, like back or way back in the day in like high school, like on the tennis team, loved kayaking. I lived by a lake. So sometimes like going from like that person to like where things had gotten now, part of it was due to like an injury and some sickness like a year ago. It can be hard to try to acknowledge where you are and go from there.
Right.
But I realize like that is the most important thing if you really want to make the changes. So like
Absolutely.
I know I love dancing and I wanted to go to your class for a
Yeah.
while, but I'm like, well, I'm just not, I can't dance as long as I used to. I can't. And
Right.
then I
Right.
was like, girl, get a chair, sit your butt down, and you dance. As long as
Start
you're
somewhere.
moving.
Exactly. You got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere. And sometimes you
Yeah.
have to be honest with yourself. And
Yes.
so I love that about you, that you were like, yeah, you can sit, like we will work with you. We will, you know, make this
Mhm.
happen. How do you get people who work with you with fitness, whether it's like at the gym, taking one of your classes, whatever, to like really get to a place where they feel okay starting where they're at
Okay.
instead of putting it off?
That's a good question because what I do is I remove all the barriers. I remove all the barriers that society puts on you and that life has put on you. So I put all the judgment barriers. I remove all the judgment barriers. I make the person feel comfortable, let them know that they are very important to where they are. Like I feed off of where I I build on, like I'm pouring whatever I need to pour into you. Basically removing them judgmental barriers, letting them know that that's okay, taking the time to listen to the person instead of just hearing them. Because if you listen to them, you can hear you can hear and process what they're actually saying, as opposed to somebody can be like, I need to get in shape. But if you listen to when they say I need to get in shape or I wish I can do this, but if you listen to them and then you hear them, it's two different things. Listening to them, you understand what they're saying into it. Are they saying it like funny, joking, laughing? Is something hindering them? Do they, so if you remove barriers, that's how what I do is I remove barriers where they're comfortable where they're in. I even have to I show that I am not perfect. Nobody's perfect. So by removing them barriers and putting it instead of saying, listen, All you got to do is give me 100,000%. I don't care if it's right. I don't care if you're doing the exercise right or wrong. If you're giving me 1,000%, that's all that matters. That's what I do with my youth team. That's a lot of people are like, your youth team moves so freely and they so out there. They're awesome. They're excellent because of the fact I take away the judging. I take away of your being watched all the time. I do not. My team is we're a performance team. I don't put them in competition. Not saying competition isn't bad, because competition is good in certain cases, but not for everybody. Whenever you take competition out the thing, then people that are in certain positions of their life, they're not afraid to be themselves. But if you put them in a place of competition, that's when they hold back because they're fear of messing up. Just like with my drum line. We are a freestyle drum line because of the fact that if we do a lot of stuff that's together, a drummer that's not a drummer, or don't think he a drummer, he's going to focus so much on, if I mess up, what if I mess up? What if I mess up? That if I say freestyle, do whatever you're going to do, how you going to do it, then he's going to do and be the awesome version of himself. And he's going to play better than himself. So he's going to be able to grow and be able to level himself where he or she where it goes. So what I do is I remove them barriers of what can hinder them. I remove that subconscious mind out of them. I'm constantly speaking into their life. Don't say those words of I used to be, I could be. You're not used to be. You're still who you are. And what you got to do is pull that person with you. Don't lag on the pack that what you used to be able to do. You can still do it. It's just something that hindered you or stopped you. And I have to understand. I have to let to do. You got to power through that, because if you power through, then that's what's going to make you be excellent. You know what I mean? When I say excellent, I mean walking your excellence. I don't mean be perfect, or, I mean be imperfectly perfect. You understand? Yeah. So I remove, that's what I do. I just remove all the barriers. And I don't give them an option to say no. Like when I come to get you for then, today, we going here. It's a question, but it's not a question, because I'm on my way. Right. So I just remove. That's what I do. I just remove the barriers that can hinder somebody from growing. You know what I mean? I don't make them feel as though I'm judging them. I make them feel as though they just like me, because everybody is the same to me. Everybody's the same. We are just different levels of our same. We're different parts of the puzzle, but together we are a puzzle together. The puzzle can't be complete with all the different shapes that they have. So I just remove the barriers. That's what I do. And I find out that's an awesome thing to do, because if you move that and then you show them that you're not in competition with nobody, you're in competition with yourself. That's all you need to do is compete against yourself. What can I do better that I didn't do last time? Doesn't mean you were doing something wrong last time. It means better. And I have to teach them, listen, you just have to start. Stop setting big goals. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of people fall because they set such big goals. If you set big goals and you're not going to celebrate the progress, like I tell people, like you said, you come in there, you sit down. But guess what? Last class you sat down more. This class you was up more. That's proud moments for me. You was up more. You understand? You had your legs going and everything. Well, last time you sat down a little, and you didn't sit down because you was tired. You sat down because your subconscious mind was saying, I can't do this.
Mm. Yeah. And actually that's going to be the next thing I talk to you about, is just the barrier. Because even for me, it's like the sitting, because I started wanting to stand up. Part of a journey that I've talked about a little bit on this show is my mental health. As far as a couple of years ago, I had a couple of falls and I snapped both of my Achilles heel. Which led to me having like terrible panic attacks. Like I couldn't leave the house for a while because of like the fear of it. So I have a cane now and it's gotten better, but I'm still like, I live in this constant state of being like afraid I'm going to fall. So like even yesterday when class started, at first I was like, I can do this. I can stand up. But like the minute I felt wobbly, I was like, let me sit down because I'm scared. So I just didn't want to fall over. And I know that will build over time as my strength builds. But I also have like all of these moments as well, because I've been working on my fitness slowly and my diet and stuff, and lost weight all over the year, where I'm still having these moments of like, oh, this thing I thought was going to be hard actually isn't hard for me anymore. And so like your mind can be such a barrier sometimes in that as well. Like, how do you help yourself get over those mental blocks that are truly just your mind telling you that you can't, when you actually can, you just don't realize it?
Yes. How I treat this is I treat it like a triangle. Like mental health is like a triangle because it involves your mental, physical, and emotional. So what happens is you have to be able to channel in to find out what what is triggering. I use the word triggering for lack of word today,
Yeah.
but what is triggering me, making me feel as though I can't do this? Is it my mind telling me I can't do it? Is it a feeling that's going through that's stopping me in doing it? Is it my physical that's actually stopping me? Once you eliminate which one it is, then you can hone in on which one it actually is, because your mind is a very powerful thing.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you tell your mind that what you're not going to do is not, you're not, mind is not going to do what you don't want it to do. You understand what I'm saying? Because if you tell your mind, the minute you tell your mind I can't, your mind's going to stop figuring it out. Instead of you say how am I going to do this? Like people be like, well, what do you don't know how to do? I have whatever I haven't learned yet. I'm going to learn this. How can I pass this? What can I do to fix this? What am I going, instead of saying, I can't do that, or I don't know how to do that, because you're telling your mind you don't know how. Now it's not going to figure it out. But if you tell it to go through, so what I do is I channel it in like a triangle, like your mental health is not only because mental health is masked in a whole lot of ways. So people be like, well, mental health only got to do with the way the person thinking. It's not. No, it goes with feeling too, because the person can be put in a mental state because how they felt in a certain situation, how they was treated, that caused emotional thing. People can be put in mental health because of something they physically see. So it's physical. Then mental health is something that people don't understand. Your mind absorbs everything you see. Everything you see, everything you hear, whether you don't want to see it. How you think your brain gets all this information in 2.5 seconds? That's why I specify to like my students and stuff. In practice, when we got events, throw away the social media, because even though you're not focused on it, you hear it. Do you understand that? You be like, how did I learn this song and I ain't ever paid no attention?
Yes.
I heard it. You know what I
Yep.
mean? You hear stuff on social media. I'm not paying no attention. You're not paying no attention, but your brain is absorbing it. So it's a subconscious hold right here. So as soon as something triggers to it, your brain starts flashing to it. So
Mm-hmm.
you got to understand. What I do is say, channel in, or what is making your mental state like this right now? Are you feeling it? Are you thinking it? Or are you seeing it? So once you channel one of them three, the triangle begins to break. Now instead of that, now you just got 90 degrees. Then you break that, then it's like, oh, this is what it is. So
Mm-hmm.
now you focus on how I can take that out of there. How can I power through it? Not get over it, because if you get over it, you don't ever process it. So, but if you get through it, you're gonna process it, and then it'll fall to where it gotta go. Because mental health is always something basically negative. And if you know what, negativity doesn't have a timeline. Happiness has a timeline. You can put a timestamp on happiness. When I was 4 years old, this, when I was 4 years old, that. But anything negative that happens to you doesn't timestamp. That's why it always stay with you. Something triggers it, it brings it right back. Do you ever notice nothing triggers the happiness and bring it right back? You just
Mm-hmm.
remember that I did this at 4. I remember I was happy when I got on a roller coaster, but nothing triggers that happiness back.
Right.
But with anything negative, it doesn't have a time stop. It's
Mm-hmm.
timestamp. So that's why you always got to get through it. But you got to figure out what key point is, but you can't put it in. I don't put it in a thing where you start to go like therapeutic. Da 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 da. Da. You just power through it. You know what I mean? You get to see that glow in yourself. You get to see what made me smile. Focus on that.
Mm-hmm.
Find what little joys with everything, with
Yeah.
joys occasion. So I just kind of hone in, whether it's what's in part of the triangle is triggering me to feel this mental halt, this
Yeah.
mental hinder, this mental chain that's holding me down for the moment,
Right.
because it can be broken. It's just
Mm-hmm.
up to you, or how you and the other person can help you do it. Because sometimes you need an army to help you pull through it.
Mm-hmm. You
You know.
certainly do.
Mm-hmm.
And something that we talk about, like using your mind to pull through and
Mm-hmm.
trying to tell your mind that you are stronger than certain things,
Mm-hmm.
which is all so important. But like, I think sometimes people really underestimate how closely your mental and
Mm-hmm.
physical health are linked. Like, and
Yes.
we know that, right? Like, and you're even told, like, oh, go get some sun, go take a walk, go do some of those things. But sometimes it takes being in like the dark spot to really realize it. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like for me, the past month and a half of not being able to breathe, therefore not being able to move,
Mm-hmm.
like like struggling to move like that, like having every single task be so hard. Like it
Yes.
literally just felt like so hard to the point where like my brain got to the point like halfway through where it was like life is hard. Like not
Yes.
in like a, oh life is hard way, but in like a this is too hard for me. Like my
Right.
brain was starting to have like those moments where I'm like, if this is the rest of my life, like I don't want to be here. Like I can't do this forever. Like I can't. I mean, and obviously you can, but like
Yes.
realizing like how much your physical and your ability to like move, I think sometimes we underestimate what a
Right.
blessing it
But
is
it is a
to be
blessing.
able
That's
to
it
like
is.
get up. Like even now, like I've been out of the hospital a week and a half and I still get like, oh, I can wake up and go brush my teeth and not be like dying. Like I'm
Right.
still
Right.
so appreciative because it
Yes.
was so bad
Yes.
before I went to the hospital. So
Absolutely.
like it's just it's so important like that physical and
Hmm.
how like that physical leads to your mental
Yes.
appreciation or lack thereof of being around.
Exactly.
So like
Exactly.
how do you really encourage people to, I guess, to love that, right? To find that joy again, to find the joy of moving and think of it as joy because that's something
Yes.
that I think especially for those of us who are like plus size because part of it,
Hmm.
especially, and we talked about this a little bit, is that like you start to get bigger and then you want go out less because it's like it's
Yes.
embarrassing or it's hard, but then the less you go out the less you want to go out, so then
Yes.
you're at home getting bigger and then it's like there's a vicious cycle and at some point you got to break it, but
Yes.
it's so hard. How do you encourage people to like get back out there, like to get back to truly living?
Yes, indeed. Well, I tell them, listen, I give them no option, basically. The minute I come in across with pass with anybody, I give them no option. When I say I don't give them no option, anytime I'm always speaking positive motivation into them, affirmations into them. Anytime I hear anything where they would say, well, I don't know, I can't go. Well, why? You know what I mean? It's not like I don't say like, well, why do you don't do this? I'll be like, I always tell them, you're beautiful. You can do it. I believe in you. I use those words all the time because I believe in you. The thing is, I can believe in you all day, but you have to believe in yourself. But sometimes it takes somebody else to believe into you before you believe into yourself because you might have been in a position where nobody has ever believed in you or you don't believe that somebody else can believe into you. You know what I mean? That it's kind of like an accountability partner on a certain aspect. So I'm not going to say I instill that in everybody that I come to, but naturally still, because God gave me gifts and talents that I have that I use to do His work. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So it's like I look at them, I'm like, well, you know what I mean? Listen, life is here for us to live life, not to go through life. Manufactured life is not what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to just go do like this. We're supposed to live life. That means you're going to experience certain things because you got to connect with certain people and certain things. So I always instill that you are beautiful. Everybody's beautiful. You have a purpose. Let's pour into. And then I find if they want to work out, say for example, like one of my students like poetry. I branched on that poetry with them, and then they started to go into the poetry. Then I pushed them into other stuff. So then it's knocking down doors that they didn't even know they did. So they start surprising themselves. Once you start believing in yourself and you start knocking down barriers that you already had that you didn't know that you can do, accomplishments that you are going to, because people set themselves for I got a goal. No, it's not a goal because a goal is a cap. Because
Mm.
if you ever know somebody hit a goal and they go out sideways, instead of going accomplishment, you push through
Yeah,
and say,
me.
what's
I'm
the
so
next
terrible
level?
with that.
What's the
I'll be like
next
thinking that,
level?
yeah.
You got to accomplish something. Go to the next level, like a video game. You don't hit a goal, you hit accomplishment. You accomplish it, and then you go to the next level. So
Mm.
I instill that to the thing. Like you can do this. Like with my fashion shows, because I'm a fashion designer, I have all shapes and sizes as a model because everybody's a model. A model can't. What are you not a model? A model is everybody you see, everything you see. A model to me in fashion is not only what you wear; it's how you talk to people, how you carry yourself. You ever heard the older folks? They were like, when you get here, act fashionably. They're not saying when you get here, make sure your clothes is fresh. No, they mean act accordingly to what's going on. So to me, I just pour into and let them know that I'm not going to let you fall. And you're going to see what I see. I'm a light in it. You are beautiful. Let's get your accomplishment. And I celebrate them. I celebrate all the time.
Mm.
One of those steps, I celebrate everybody. So it's like if you celebrate a person and you believe into that person, it's gonna knock down the walls and they're gonna start believing in themselves. So that's how I encourage. I have talks. We'll talk I would call them up and randomly speak. And I open up and allow myself to be vulnerable to them so that they can be vulnerable to me. Not so I can use it against it, but so that they can know that I'm vulnerable, I'm open. And you have to build that trust in them. They have to be able to trust you too.
Yeah.
It's not just about encouraging, because you can encourage anybody, but they're not gonna make a move unless they trust you.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
that relationship build, and it has to be a natural relationship build. That's
No,
how
that's
I encourage. Yes.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's so true. Now you obviously are like a beacon of positivity. I love your spirit. I love your energy, but we all know that that's not 100%, right? Like everybody
100%.
has their down days.
Exactly.
Everybody has their days that they struggle.
hmm
So how do you get through? Like, what helps you through those days?
What I say, what helps me, first of all, first and foremost, prayer.
Mm,
That's what helped me most, first and foremost. But the people's lives that I touch and the people outside, I was like, I cannot not practice what I preach.
yeah.
I got to be an example for what I am telling other people that they can do. So that pushes me, because I get in those days and it's a hard struggle. And I'll be like, I cannot have fitness class. This person is coming to fitness class to go over here. Or I can't do this and then turn around and tell my student. I hold myself accountable to the words that I say. So, and I'm like, okay, my commitment, my passion, and my drive is to say my word is my bond. And I can't teach something and live something if I don't know that it's going to work. Or I can't say I didn't go through it to try to navigate. I can't say, well, oh, go here and try this, drink this soda, is good. No, I don't know. I didn't taste it. So I like to go through trials and tribulations the way I will navigate or direct somebody else to do so. Therefore, they like, oh, well, she's authentic. Be my authentic self. So I'm like, so it's the people lives I touch. I don't want to ever be like, they be like, well, she gave up, but she always encouraged me. Cause then I feel as though I'm failing a nation, because now they domino effecting, because now what I can hold up with one little string, just by one little blow, everybody done fell, because
Yeah.
of the fact that, what did you just gave up, but now I'm not going to do it no more. You know what I mean? So I don't want to be that fact. So it's the people's lives I touch. Most important is like everybody surrounding me. I'm like, but my most important thing is I pray to God, and I always have faith. And as always said, you keep on pushing no matter what. So I pray to God, and then the people that's around me, even the people that's watching me that I don't even know, I need to be what they need to
Hmm.
succeed, or what they need to be their true and authentic self. That's what my heart is. I'm a people lover, and I
Yeah.
love to see people grow and be successful in whatever avenue it is. Success to me is not about how much money you got in your bank account. It's how many people's lives you touch, how many people's lives you pour into, and the connection that you bring together, so that everybody can build a strong foundation and keep moving those mountains to build and develop and make a better generation each time, over and over and again. So
Yeah.
that's what keeps me going, because I do have hard days, and I might be like, oh, I don't want to go to fitness class. Oh, Queen is going to be there. If I don't go, I
Mm.
might throw her off.
Right.
So it's like I hold
Some of us
myself
are looking for an
accountable.
excuse to skip. We're looking for a reason to skip.
Nope. But that's what I do. First and foremost, I pray to get myself through. I may have to kick and scream after I pray, cry, but then I know that I have a whole lot of people that I'm not going to let down. I don't
Hmm.
want them to fail. I'm not going to do it. So I
Yeah.
push through. Yeah.
Hmm. And I
hmm
think something that's really important, just circling back to where we began, talking about like how your mind controls everything.
hmm
I find like, especially with fitness,
hmm
they say it and it's usually true, which is that you rarely regret a workout, right? Like,
Right.
even if you really didn't want to do it,
Yes.
usually by the time you're done, you're like, all right, I'm glad I did that.
Yes.
It's that getting your brain to do it. And
hmm
for me, I found that, like, of course, the motivation is wonderful when you have it, but
Yes.
your brain is programmed to make you comfortable. It's not programmed to make you uncomfortable. You have
Yes.
to force it to be uncomfortable.
Yes.
So something I practice is the five countdown.
hmm
And I do it for like everything. Anytime I have like tasks that I
Right.
really don't want to do, but I need to do, I tell myself, you
Right.
count down from five and then you just do it. Because
Right.
if you give yourself longer, you're going to think
It's
your way out
over.
of it. You're going to come up with excuses. You're going to do all the different things. So you
Yes.
just count down. Like, I literally did that with texting you yesterday. I was like, oh, maybe if I don't text her, we don't have to do class. And I was like, no. So I counted to 5 and then sent you that text.
Yes,
But sometimes you have to do that. Like
yes,
your brain controls you, but you control your brain. I feel like
exactly.
people forget that sometimes.
Yes,
Like at the end of the day, your brain controls you, but
yes.
you control your
Control the
brain.
brain.
You
Yes, it's
can train your brain to think how you want it to think,
mm-hmm.
do what you want it to do. And I think that
Exactly.
you pour that into the people who work with you, to
Yes,
whether it's kids or whether it's adults, like you pour
yes,
that into you. And it's so important because that physical strength comes from that mental strength. And while people think
absolutely.
they're working out with you for their physical strength, you're yapping away, pouring into their mental strength, and they don't even
Exactly.
realize it until
No.
that subconscious that you were talking about before. Then they're like,
Yes.
"Wait, where did I hear that? Oh, Toya said that.
Yes,
That's right."
exactly. Yes, indeed. You know how that fits into when they say somebody's always listening, somebody's always watching. You hear what you even don't want to hear. You know how you hear conversations what you don't ever want to hear. So that's why, I tell people that all the time. Just pay attention. Your brain is very powerful. Be careful about what you listen to. Be careful with what you adhedes to, because you can hear everything, but
Mm-hmm.
don't listen to the fact of if it's tearing down, if it's anything to be, because it can. You can tear yourself down and not even know it. You
Mm-hmm.
start soon as you start talking yourself down. Well, I don't got this to wear. I don't have. You can tear yourself down just by saying I don't have anything to wear, or I'm broke.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Just because you don't got money doesn't mean you broke. You know what I mean? But using different words and stuff, you got to speak life into yourself just as well as you speak non-life into yourself.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you got to realize that you can be your biggest and worst enemy because you don't see yourself as your own enemy.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be the biggest and your worst weapon that is
Yeah.
formed against yourself, because you're forming a weapon against yourself that you don't even realize that's a weapon because you're doing it. You don't think that you're going to hold yourself on. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I tell
sometimes
people
the
to be
weapon
careful
formed against you is you. And
yourself.
sometimes you need to realize that the weapon formed against you is yourself.
And
And
that's the
then you
worst
need to
weapon because you
and
don't
then you need to
realize it
figure it
until it's
out.
too late.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and then we had some comments. Izzy was saying earlier that feeling comfortable is super important.
Hmm.
Um, Absolutely. And the changes that we make, she said, little by little, brick by brick. And
Yes.
that really is the truth. Like, you want that day to night change. I know we all do. Like, you do one workout, you want to get on the scale, you want to see your results. We
Hmm.
are such an instant gratification group
Right.
of people, especially now with like social media, because people are just making highlight reels of their life. Like, you see them one minute, then you see them the next minute, and they think, oh, it's like that. It's not like that. There's no
It's
such thing as
not.
overnight success in anything.
No. And
There's
if
that
it's overnight
fast
success,
work.
it doesn't stay. I always
Right.
compare it to the one hit wonders. One hit
Yep.
wonders, they go ahead and they go make all this money, and now it's all going. They didn't figure out the fact that they didn't trust the process, with the process of learning how to retain whatever you put in. So the work that
Mhm.
you put in is what you get out. So if you go ahead and speed your process, you're going to speed the money, or speed the growth, or speed wherever you got to. You're
Yep.
going to rise and you're going to fall, as
Yep.
opposed to trusting the process and build so that you can grow. That's why I tell people baby steps. When I say baby steps,
Mhm.
doesn't mean you're slower or you got to move slower. That means celebrate the little stuff. Then you're gonna be able to continue to celebrate the bigger stuff.
Yep.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And Ladle said, nothing but gems, jewels being dropped. Thank you. Izzy said,
Oh,
thanks for
thank
tuning
you,
in.
thank you.
Ladle said, you can be your biggest and worst enemy. Absolutely.
Absolutely, you can.
And then Izzy said, you're so right. Yep.
Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
and this has been such a great conversation because I think it's just something that's important to
Yes.
talk about, to revisit. And I think also, something I wanted to touch on, because in addition to being really big on talking about like mental health, I talk a lot about like self confidence and body
Hmm.
love, and especially like as a plus size body. And I think sometimes people are like, well, how can you say you love yourself and then you're constantly talking about like wanting to lose weight or wanting to make these changes? But I think like self improvement is part of self love, is it not? Like,
It
if
is, and
you
just
love
because
yourself,
you
you
can love
want
yourself and
the
make
best for
changes.
yourself.
You
And
can love yourself and make changes. It doesn't mean that you don't love yourself just because you want to go into the gym, or just because you want to change your hair, or just because you want to add lashes, or just because you doesn't mean you love yourself. That's loving. That's a part of loving yourself. Making
right,
changes, doing it because you're doing the stuff that you're enjoying. So
Right.
that's a part of loving yourself. Just because I want to go in there and find my abs that's in my stomach somewhere, because I asked the doctors, was it in there? Doesn't mean I
Right.
don't love myself.
Right.
I just might want to see what that look like. I might
Right.
just want to run on the beach like baby, that's people get that wrong when they, me. But that's something that I say, like societal things that people are got that from society. Because some people say stuff not really saying it because they mean it. They say it because they heard it or they
Right.
referenced it to something. Just because they say, well, I want to go to the gym, I want to cut my hair, doesn't mean I don't love myself.
Right.
It just
And it
means I want to improve. Doing stuff for yourself is loving yourself.
right.
Letting
And only
yourself go to
you can
waste is not.
exactly. And only you can decide what that love looks like. And I think it's part of why, like, and we just saw the Ozempic craze where everyone was taking the shot and losing all the weight, and then all
Yes,
of these people are
indeed.
coming out of the woodwork saying like, "Oh, I was never really body positive. I blah blah blah." It's like, well, you were lying to yourself. Like, but not everyone is. Like, some of us do truly love ourselves, but also
Absolutely.
want to make changes. Like, I love myself enough to know where my potential is and know where my potential is being stopped in some ways
Exactly.
and wanting to do what I need to do to make it better. Like, that's love, whatever
Exactly.
it looks like to anyone else. It's not me trying to prove stuff to other people. It's me wanting to get to the best version of me that makes me happy. And that doesn't mean that you don't love yourself.
Exactly. How you going to travel through dimensions and travel through time without change? If you stay one way and the time moves forward, you're not going to navigate with the time. You're going to get left behind because there's no change.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? If you do no change, what do? You stand still. If you stand still, what you do? Become stagnant. If you stand still and become stagnant, you become depressed. Once you become depressed, you become alone. Once you become alone, now you're in a little
Yeah, yeah,
bubble by yourself, and now you start mentally beating on yourself because of the fact that now you didn't change. Now you're dwelling on the stuff that you wanted to change. You didn't. You regret the change because people told you couldn't change. And
right.
it's not a change; it's a development. It's not a change; it's growth. So
Yes,
people,
growth.
people say, I'm not changing it. I'm growing. I'm not
Yep.
changing it. I'm developing it. I'm not changing. I'm enhancing.
Yeah.
Just because, you're enhancing what it is. Just like when you
Mhm.
get a wardrobe. If that's the case, wardrobe will stay the same.
Right. That
But
part.
you
Yeah.
you get a different wardrobe for winter, spring, summer, and fall because of the enhancement. Or you get
Yep.
it, it's not a change, it's an enhancement. A lot of people use words and using them to deflect on somebody else what they're doing. Instead of to pour in and bring forward, they deflect them because of the change. But you have to change to go through dimensions, to go through time. You
You
gotta
are
change.
absolutely right.
I came home from work to get in ready for this. I had to change. This isn't
Right.
like I didn't like what I had on. No, I had to change for what is present and being put for in front of me in order to navigate this step of journey to see where I go next.
Yep. No, absolutely, absolutely. It's that growth, it's that
Yes.
change. By the way, Michael said she's crushing it. She's so amazing, as you
Oh,
are.
thank you. Thank
Well,
you
I can't
guys.
thank you enough for joining me today.
Yes.
This has been such a great conversation. I'm definitely going to have you back again so we can talk a little bit more. But
Yes,
um,
indeed.
thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Where can people find you if they need to get a hold of you?
If you want to get hold of me, you can reach me on Facebook at LaToya Brat Richards, which is LaToya hyphen RICHARDS. Or you can also reach me on Instagram at Brat IQZ, which is BRATIQZ. Or you can find me on TikTok where we can dance together at Shanae Slay 718, which is SHANASLAY 718. Or just follow me on Facebook at Bounce Back with Brat. Well, that's where it's at. Where we be getting our workout on or dancing on. We be coming in and just having fun. And you know what? Having fun is the most important exercise ever because it is also a mental having fun. It's physical because you ever have a laughter and then you have a
Mhm.
good night's sleep.
Yep.
The
And
same.
that's what you need. So
That's
come
what it is.
find her with her various locations. If you have kids, think about joining Fashion Steppers. Come dance
Exactly.
with us Wednesday night, 6:30 at the Academy for Peace. It's on
Academy for
Northwest
Peace.
Street.
Yes.
You can stand up, you can sit down with me, you can do whatever you need to do to feel comfortable, but just come and have a good time and get moving.
Come
Well, thank
laugh
you
at me.
again so much, LaToya.
Yes, indeed. Thank
And
you so
thank you
much for the
everybody for
opportunity.
tuning in.
Thank God for this opportunity and thank God for everybody you watching. And I love you guys. Hopefully, I'll see you guys in person.
Yes, yes. Thank you all. Have a great night.
All right. Have a good night.